And it's got about 2.5 lakh members and industrial leaders worldwide. We are on the Kerala Architecture Council, and it's nationally linked. All the states have got councils similar to this, and we can actually go to the global links and global conferences as well if you go into the website. It's got several other verticals, like for example, for the medical field, management field, and even for the lawyers. So it's the verticals which are it's umpteen. So you can actually go into the website and see everything. And I'm so happy that there is a platform for us to discuss and to connect globally. Thank you, Miji.
Thank you so much, Sindhu, for shedding light onto what Women's Chamber of Commerce and Industry is all about. Moving on to today's events. A home is where your soul is. And today we have two architects, Architect Maya Gomez and Architect Monalitha Chatterjee, bearing their souls to us. We'll be opening up for discussion after both presentations get over. Our first speaker of the day is Architect Maya Josephine Gomez of Gomez and Associates, Trivandrum. Apart from being an architect, she's also an artist, a planner, and a textile designer too. She may be having other cameo roles too, which I'm not aware of. Maya, you're always free to fill in those roles as part of your presentation. She did her bachelor's in architecture and master's in planning from College of Engineering, Trivandrum. She won the National Award from IAA for Excellence in Research in 2002 and the IAA Silver Leaf Award for Public and Semi-Public Architecture in 2013 for the design of L'école Champaga School in Trivandrum. She has a keen eye on compositional quality like any other artist, and her works tell a visual story by itself. Over to you, Maya.
Thank you, Miji, for that introduction. And now, like Miji said, talking about your house is really bearing your soul. And it's a very bold move indeed, I think, for me to come here before all of you to bear my soul. Well, if I were to actually talk about the house of my dreams, it would be a house that I would build from scratch. But unfortunately, that is not the house I'm going to be presenting to you today, because this is a house I happen to buy and then renovate. But anyway, if it were to be the house I'd built from scratch, that would be a shed in the sticks. And I've already designed one such shed in the sticks, and Miji is nodding because I share this with all my college classmates very often, all these dreams that I have. And I do have a plot on the outskirts of Trivandrum, which can be accessed by a very tiny dirt road. And I once decided I was going to go and live there. And so I thought I'd build this shed. It would be just a very lightweight steel structure with an infill of a lot of windows and doors sourced from different places. So it will be a mishmash of openings. It would have a very high ceiling with some skylights that would let in a lot of light. And in this cathedral kind of shed, I would then put in little cubes and little steps and little enclosures to do my various things that I need to do in a house. And then I would probably connect them all at a higher level by a gangway and mezzanines. I might have some tensile structures and some trees growing in the middle. And then this would be a huge creative hub and a hobby shop. So this is my ideal home. But then I realized I wasn't really ready to go and live in a shed in the sticks, because I'm not ready to be a hermit just yet. But maybe in 10 years' time, if we can meet again and I'll be allowed to present my home again to you, I will present my shed in the sticks. But for now, it's going to be this house that I bought and renovated. Now, many would argue that a house that was built in the 80s, 90s would be a rather not a very nice period for architecture in Trivandrum, because we saw a lot of very heavy concrete structures happening at the time, very solidly built structures, probably even over designed structurally. And these were houses that would never come down. try how you might, And so it's one such house that I happened to buy. Now, why did I even decide to buy a house? Because I love the gypsy lifestyle of uprooting and going wherever I wanted and taking lock, stock, and barrel with me and moving house. And I was living in a rented house for a long time. I do have a flat of my own, but the reason I shifted to a house is because I'm a dog person. And I suddenly discovered that I love living.
We seem to be facing some kind of technical glitch at the moment. Let's hope Maya will be able to reconnect back with us soon.
Have a little bit of a garden, my home office, my dogs, and then I'm very happy in my own space. And I discovered when my boys left that I kind of enjoyed being on my own, and I kind of came into my own in a lot of ways because I took to painting and I started dabbling in various other creative activities too. So ideally, my home would be a reflection of my lifestyle. And I was so sure that wherever I live, I've lived, I think, in about 6 or 7 different houses in Singapore on rent. I started in a very small, what you call the Housing Council Board houses, a HDB flat, the smallest of them. I ended up in a designer kind of condominium and many houses in between. And everywhere I've gone, I've always managed to make it home. So I wasn't really keen on having my own place, but it was the pandemic that brought the home into focus. And I think it's true for all of us because we all started spending so much of time at home and we realized that home does matter. We started cooking, we started gardening, spending time within our 4 walls. And that's when, and incidentally, that's the time when my boys also came back home after their graduation. Now they intend to go back for their post-graduation and other work. So meanwhile, while they were here, we talked about it and we said, let's buy a property finally and put down an anchor. And so that's how the property hunt began. And in Trivandrum, very strangely, you pay only for the land. The house itself has no value. So if you buy an empty plot or you buy a plot with a house, you're still paying the same amount of money because you pay only for the land. Most areas, it's like that here. And we honed into one particular area, residential area, which suited our pocket, and we started hunting. So my boys, being tech savvy, they went online, they contacted brokers, and we had lots of house viewings. And all the while I would wear my mask and get dragged out to see this house or the other. And I was such a half-hearted architect trying to go to buy a house. And even before I reached any of them, I would say no. I knew no in my heart, and I would say no. And so on one such sojourn, when we went looking for houses, it was already a no. And on our way back, I saw this plot. It was a corner plot, beautifully sloping plot. And there was a house on it, a huge monstrosity of a house tucked away at the back, but it was hidden by some trees. And there was a huge mango tree at the back. And it had a lovely random rubble wall. And the best part of it was like in its own island, being a corner house. And it was surrounded by the most beautiful trees and all the plots around, not necessarily in the same plot, but around it. So I said, and then the broker happened to mention he knew this was for sale, but nobody was wanting to buy it because it was a huge house. It would need a lot of work. It hadn't been lived in for a very long time. And so I said, I think I'd like to see this house. And it just went ahead from there. And I bought it. It was kind of a love at first sight thing. I'm never worried about renovation because I love renovation. I always tell my clients, whatever your requirements, we can fit it in. They come and say, can you look at the place before I decide whether I should lease it out or not, whether you can put, I say, I don't need to look at it, take it and we'll make it work, So for me, renovation is always a challenge of making something that might seem at first sight to not be that charming, to make it into something charming. And this is the journey I'd like to talk to you about. So let me just do a screen share so I can go into my presentation now. full screen, right?
Yes.
Okay. So this is what I saw. So can you picture that random rubble wall creeping down a sloping side, a corner side, and there it was at the back, a groaning mango tree uprooting the compound wall and dropping its ripe fruit heavily onto the road. This was in April, I think, when it was fruiting. And the house itself, you can see what it was. Okay. So this is my house now. And you might find these overlaps of arches a little odd, and that's because we have an octagonal floor plan. So the living room is an octagon, and the dining room is also an octagon. And that's why you see those overlapping, arches. And can you see a full screen? Because I can't.
Yes,
yeah.
yes, it is
All
a
right.
full screen.
So what it is I opened up a lot of the space so that I could have one huge connected space. I like my living space to be rather informal. I'm not very fond of very overly designed spaces. I prefer it to be informal, and but then it takes on a life of its own. So I needed a setting for it to take on its own life. And what I did is open up a lot of the walls, and you can see on the right side, look right into the kitchen. So those were two kitchens. Actually, there was a division which I took down, and I also took down some of the partitions that divided the kitchen, the dining from the foyer. Now the space you see on the left in dark gray is the foyer. So what I really did in this house is open out, add windows to the living and the dining areas so that a lot of natural light flooded in. And I left the foyer very dark. So the foyer was already designed in such a way that it did not have any outdoor openings. It didn't have any natural light. So I left it that way, and I painted it a very dark gray. And so I think with those two colors itself, I got my basic palette in place, and I got a good contrast in my composition. So I got the contrast of that dark foyer, which then opened into rooms that were full of natural light and were white. So this was the effect that I sort of wanted. It was a simple but an effective way of taming this large house, okay? And this is the first thing I did. If you notice that door there, it's a tempered glass door. I opened out something to the mango tree to create a sit out under it. So I wanted to bring that mango tree that I fell in love with right into the house, you know. And so that is the back corner that you see there from the dining room. And I opened it out with a tempered glass door. And that's a closer view of the mango tree and the sit out under it. And if you see on the left, there are a lot of very interesting light and shade patterns that the sunlight casts. And it's a very beautiful changing picture during the day, you know, and at night also I've got some very soft lighting there. And that's how the whole side yard has turned out to be. There's another Jambikia tree there also, which is an original one that was in the plot and was also fruiting when we went there incidentally. And now if I go on to the next slide, 1 second, I seem to be stuck. Ryan? I'm not sure how to move ahead.
If your PowerPoint is stuck, Maya, just exit and reshare. It happens sometimes when the internet is slow. Now you're fine, I think. Did you manage?
Yeah, you're fine. We can say it, Maya.
I don't know how to control it, though. It seems to be doing its own thing. Okay, so now I come into the next slide. And if you can see this again, that's how I kind of updated the house a bit with nothing very fancy. It's all just through lighting, through colors, through art. And that's the dining space. This dining table was designed by me sometime back, and I had it in my flat. I like the long, low lines. I put in some industrial looking lights here and in the kitchen, the track lights in the kitchen, to kind of just update the space a little bit. I left, the thumb rule I gave myself was, if it's a natural material, let it be. So there was marble and there was a lot of teak wood, like you see on that paneling there. And I'm not a fan of marble, let me tell you, and I'm not a fan of teak wood either. But what I told myself is, if it's a natural material, let it be, and I can update it with how the whole thing comes together, And this is another view of the whole space. So you can see how the space was opened up. This is a work in progress. So all my work in progress and pictures of the before phase will have the sepia background, so you can tell which was which. So this is a window I put in on the left side where you see the man working. There was a small door there. So they had an entry from the side road into the house, into the main living area. So rather than keep the door there, which was not aligned because it was a lower lintel level than the window, I kind of put in the window there and opened out the space. I also took off, if you notice, those light little arches kind of added with plaster on the top. They don't end anywhere. They just end in points anyway. So I took off all these superfluous decorative elements and stripped it down to bare minimum. The grills and the windows could look dated, but then the nice part of it is that there was a lot of greenery outside. So then I was sure I could kind of work around that. And that was a window. In the second picture that you see, that was a window. This one here, which I made into a door to access the mango tree. And you can see it was not centered on that wall. So I'm a little finicky about composition, about alignment. I feel that if you do these little things, your space can look a lot neater, although these changes might be imperceptible, but they do make a lot of difference. This is an old picture. So this was the before picture. And you can see this window here is where I've put in the door now. And you can see the partitions here. There was a kind of glass partition there and a half wall. That's another picture again. This is from us. I didn't actually have before pictures. So the brokers had this video they had done with some disco music in the background of the whole house. So I took little screenshots, that's why it's looking a bit weird. But this is how the dining living was. And those are the partitions I took off. And now you can see the black band there, the granite bands where the partitions were and which were removed. And this is looking into the kitchen. You can see there's a long, very typical of those times. They had these very thick counters for the wash basin. And then they had a door leading to the kitchen. So this whole wall was taken down to open out that space as well. So it was very simple interventions that I did, made the wash basin counter a lot smaller. And you can see that gray line on the flooring where walls were removed. And I added a tile that's used elsewhere in the house just to kind of bring in the two and connect the two. And the windows, although they are those very typically 80s kind of windows, I think the greenery made up for it. And I thought I could just, just leave them as they are. That's my dog, Mocha, enjoying the view. She thinks she's going to get a good meal. Some views of the greenery again. See from the foyer, that's the main door. Even when you open the main door in that very dark foyer, you again get a glimpse of green. So these were things I could live with. And that's how my living room looks now. I'm not a big fan of cladding and paneling. Somehow I feel that these are decorative elements that you're just putting on to something. And for me, that is superfluous when it comes to design, unless, especially when I do like that value of frugality when you're designing. I think it's a good design value where you actually look at what is necessary, what adds value to your work and what doesn't. And somehow adding cladding didn't appeal to me, but I do have a lot of art prints which I've collected over time. And I've used those as a backdrop. you can't do away with a TV because I'm not a fan of having televisions in the living area. I prefer it to be tucked away somewhere in the family room. But in this case, I knew that I would like sometimes to watch something on Netflix, or when I have friends over for a karaoke, or for when my dad comes to watch news. So the television is there. It's something I can't do away with. All the furniture that you see here is something I already had. Nothing was designed for the space, so it was just put in. The black and white art prints, one of them is a calendar that I got from Jeffrey Bower's house, townhouse in Colombo. When you visited, they give you a calendar as a souvenir. And that is one house I would say that is very inspirational. The way the spaces flow, the little courtyards that let in light, and the beautiful art, and the very informal yet design nature of that house is something that really appealed to me. Picasso's work, I love Picasso's form, especially when it's black and white. When this color also, it tends to be a little overbearing. So I like the black and whites. Work prints from Japan, from Yorkshire, where my son studied. He studied at the University of Hull. So that's David Hockney. So that's how the living room is. And I knew that the only things I was going to buy for this room were going to be the light fixtures. I wanted something, we are in 2021 after all, so I wanted something from 2021, but I must say I'm not a fan of the harsh LED lighting that you get and some of the harsher fixtures. I like the incandescent lights, which give you these shadows and shades. And so I found these fittings which threw the light backwards and cast some shadows. Although they are very modern fittings, they still kind of went with the whole thing. The bench that you see on the right was in my office previously. It's a storage bench that holds a lot of magazines, newspapers, etc. And it's served me well over the years in various capacities. And now it's found its place in this house. It's been cut to size and put there. So there's additional seating in this large room, informal seating when needed. That's a view of the other sunlight that you see there. So I've got 3 suns here, and those are the only, the light, and these are the only fixtures that were actually bought for the room. I did that painting for this particular house when I knew I was going to be moving. I started this painting on Trivandrum. You can see another light at the back there in the dining hall. That's like a moonlight. So I have my sunroom and I have my moon room. That's just a by the way thing. And that's how the foyer looks from the dining. That's the light in all its glory. The lights again in all their glory. The furniture is all what I had. This sofa incidentally belonged to my parents. And I was in college, I think in my first year, when they decided to buy this set. And I said, if you're going to get a divan, let me have a say in the proportions, because I hated divans. So they said, okay, you can draw it out. So I drew it out on graph paper. I wanted a long, low line. I wanted very small armrests, and so that's what I got. I'm happy with this. I'm not too fond of the singles because they look rather bulky. The set down is from my great grandmother. She had it made in those days with rattan, and it was later upholstered. I love collecting things. These are my Manjari Palagas. I don't know if you've all played this game called Palampuri with Manjaris. One of them is my great-grandmother's. One is from my mother. The other one is from Singapore. Sri Lanka, incidentally. It's from the Kandalama Hotel. So there's another Jeffrey Bauer Connect. It's probably a Dravidian game that was played in South India and Sri Lanka. Now I'll move on to this passage space off the foyer. There's a passage that connects to a bedroom beyond, and this passage had no natural light again. So whenever I have a space without natural light, I try to bring in a lot of color and a lot of other interests into it. And I thought I'd do this bookshelf unit. The 2 units in red are repurposed from elsewhere in the house. They were, I think, bedside built-in units or something like that. So I put those in first and then designed the rest of the bookshelf around it. This is the view from the room that fronts it, which is actually the office. It was a car park. They used to drive into the side of the house and park there. So I converted that into an office. So I can say, like Steve Jobs, that I've started my office in a garage. So, and it is, so it's my garage office, and that opens out into the passage, and it has an access from outside. Some close-ups, some of my art again, and some prints and some collectibles, souvenirs, things I've collected. Everything has a story, but I'm not going to go into it. Some close-ups, that's just to show you my Tintin collection, figurines. That's how it looked. That's the foyer again. I've put in a very simple paper light that I got from IKEA. It's one of those Japanese paper lanterns that you can just scrunch up. It's got about 10 layers. It comes flat packed and you can scrunch it up. I initially wanted to get a very antique, almost a broken kind of chandelier from Jew Street, but being the pandemic, there was no way to go and do that. So this is what I've settled for. Other views of the foyer, since it's a dark space, I've given it a kind of a Byzantine vibe with some of those prints and some of the icons from Eastern Europe. Friends, I think they're here today. And this is the dining area and whatever. Even all the furniture you see here is what I had. The table is, of course, what I designed. And then when you go up the stairs, the staircase had some sort of a red carpeting. And the balustrades I knew could look a bit dated, but I thought, let me just sand them down and take off the carpeting. And then there was this cement finish. And I was wondering whether I should clad it with something or tile it with something, but I thought the cement gave it a kind of a new updated sort of look. So I left it as such. I just waxed it and left it as such. And on the landing, there's a room, and that is my personal office space. And I've just given a burst of color in that space. This is the only artwork I had commissioned, by the way. It is done by an artist called Medha Bhatt, and she's based in Ahmedabad, and she works with textile scrap. And I had requested her to do something with the birds of Kerala. So she calls this the birds of Kerala, the Shola forests. And it looks very striking. I don't think my pictures really do justice to it. Now I'll take you outside and we'll come back in later. So outside, now this is the genius, I think, of the designer builder who built this house. Now his name is Govindan Gopalakrishnan, and he is known as the Mosque Man. And he has built many, many mosques in and around Trivandrum. And I had the good fortune of meeting him. He's rather elderly now. I went with the previous owners of the house to see him. So what I like what he has done is how he sited the building, especially the heights. So the height of the sit out, this particular sit out is at such a height that you can actually see the road is a lot lower. And although it's a main road, you don't get all that noise and the traffic coming in, and yet you get a good vantage point. You can look right out. And so that's the round sit out. Yeah, it's a very heavy structure, as you can see. But once it was all just painted white, I just left it as such. I didn't do much to it. But if you notice that round sit out there, it looks like some alien ship landing pad or something, but that's actually a sit out. And you'll see on the right here that there are about 7 or 8 steps that go up to it, you know. And if you notice this road, it slopes right down to the gate. So it's really quite at a height. And that sit out level then sets the level of the rest of the house. So our views are pretty nice. It's a little at an elevation. And so I don't know, whenever I need to get a handle over something, I have to draw it out. So even if I'm given a house to renovate or design, I cannot get someone else to draft it for me. I have to draft it myself. I really believe there's a strong connect between your motor skills and your brain, because as you draw each line, you get a feel for the space. I don't know, many of you may agree with me on this. So I need to draw to understand, and I needed to do a bit of site planning here because the site was a sloping site. After the house and that driveway, nothing was done to the rest of the plot. It was just left sloped, and they had some sundry plants and trees growing there. And so I decided to make use of that site. You know, it's a 20-cent plot and there's quite a bit of land in front. So I thought I'd make use of that. And another problem I had is I needed a 3-car car park. Don't ask me. It's not for my shed in the sticks. This is for my sons. So that had to be reconciled as well as the levels. So if you see here, this is the road. This is the road here, the main gate. That's at -2. So I set the porch level, say, at 1, and this was set at -2. And so then I had to put in a car park at -1 here so that my ramp down wouldn't be too steep. It's at about 1:8. And once that level was set, I then tiered the rest of the garden to fall in 3 terraces. So from 0, there, it goes down to -70, to -140, and then again to -2. So this last level here, this -2 level, is cordoned off from the rest of the house because the back of the car porch is fenced. And then you get a garden wall here, and then you get fencing here as well. So the dogs can't really access this part of the house. I've given a tiny little gate there, and I'm planning to do a gallery, come cafe, come little shop here at some point after the pandemic. This is my stage 2. So this is a cordoned off place, and there's a little secret garden here behind the garage, which is accessed from the gallery space. So this is how I plan the garden. And I've always been in houses in older areas where they have a lot of traditional plants and trees. So when I gave my landscape person the idea of what I wanted, it was mostly Chemberati and all these Chemberatis that I really like. So I wanted that to be in one level. And I wanted a jacaranda here to mark the house at the corner. And so these are the things I asked for. And this little gallery space is going to be called the Curious Cat whenever I do it. And there's a little gate there for that. That's the garage now. And I try to make it as unobtrusive as possible to go in with the landscaping. There's a lot of growing out to be done. We've just moved in here, in fact. So I'm hoping that the creepers will all come up and it'll all be nicer. At the back is got a netting for the creepers to go up. And that is the little gate that I was talking about. Now this is the road that approaches the house, and you can see the gate there. See, you can see this gate as you drive up. So I thought it would be something attractive. I wanted it to be something that people would stop and look at or wonder about. There's a little bamboo grove here across the road that kind of marks the place. This gate, incidentally, was something I drew. The plants are just growing out now on the planter above the gate. This was something I drew up on graph paper, and I gave it to my grill guy. This was all during the pandemic, and I said, then he disappeared with it. Then he came back to me and said he doesn't have any artists to draw it in 1:1. So I said, bring your paper 1:1 sheet and I'll draw it for you. So then I did it for him in 1:1 on this, and he finally bent the bars and did it. Then he called me and said, the bars are too thick. It's difficult for me to do. Can I use thinner bars? I said, no, you somehow do it with thick bars because otherwise it won't be seen at all. And that's the gate that he finally did. And as we dug up this site, when I was putting in all the retaining walls for the terraces, I did the plinth for my Curious Cat because I thought I'll finish the land work, so I don't have to do any land work in future. And we kept excavating these river stones, which I think, the previous owners a long time back must have just covered the garden with, and then it got covered over with sand. That's a view of how the terracing is done. That's a view now, and I think those little garden walls with exposed brick and jalis, terracotta jalis, add a little bit of a more earthy element. And of course, I'm waiting for all the planting to grow out. Now back to the inside, and this is how the kitchen is. That's work in progress. And you can see there's a gash in the ground there where the walls were taken off. These are also views of the kitchen. It's basically just compositional, very neat lines and color blocking and very utilitarian, very, very utilitarian. Over the years, I know what I want in my kitchen. I do like cooking, but only for entertaining. I know what I like, I know what I want. So it's easy for me. It was very easy for me to set up house because over the years of living in so many different houses, I had kind of pared down, knew what I really wanted. The wash basin, of course, is the most important part. Now, if you see that little punch of blue at the back, that's that very sad utility space that all these houses had, you know. You have this little utility space at the back. It's like a second kitchen. And all these very sad spaces, I always give a very bold and bright color just to give it a nice uplift. And color is always the most economical way to give something a lift. That unit that most of you must be bored because I've been posting this on Facebook a lot. This unit was it's a spice rack, and this is something I picked up from the roadside. It's probably an old government. It's a metal unit that probably held letters or something like that. And it's now a spice rack. And the kitchen is now filled up. That's last Onam. I've used the windows, I've used the grills to hang things on. So this is one rack that I got from IKEA where you can keep adding things. So it holds all the soap dispensers. It has a magnetic bar for the knives. And that's the spice rack again. And those little birds that are perched there are in terracotta. It's done by an artist called Anu Chiran. She's an NID artist, and she does lovely terracotta work, very quirky work. And this was a space in their slab. I hadn't changed any of this. It's all original. It was just like this with the marble backsplash and the marble counter. And there was a space for a range there in which I've now used my little trolley so I can bring in things from my storeroom, take it to my island and cook. Why I did an island is because all the new equipment that I bought for this house, rather than try to put it into the slabs that were existing, I put it all into the island. So I have an oven, hood and hob. And these are repeats, I think. And this window was also used to hang things on. That's the back utility. I've just got hooks to put all my cleaning aids that I need on a daily basis. That's a view into my office at the landing level. It's a painting I did called Daybreak. That's when you go up the stairs further. So they had this round niche in the wall where I put in a painting called The Lady with the Red Scarf with the 3 primary colors. And when you go up, there's a long passage, which could also be a dreary space. So I've converted it into a gallery, and it's got all my paintings there with some very bright track lights, which do make a bit of a difference. And this is the room that I actually added and built from scratch. This was, prior to this, this was an open terrace on the top floor. And if there was one room at least that I wanted to do the way I wanted. So these are old repurposed doors as I had planned initially. And I've also roofed it with a metal and terracotta tile roofing. It's an octagonal room again, because it's above the octagonal dining room that's below. So these 3 doors were sourced from Karaikudi. So Madhuri, our classmate Matt, gave me the contact. It was all during the pandemic, and he was sending me all the windows doors he had. So I honed into this, and then he had to send it via truck, and somehow it reached, and then it needed a lot of work, sanding, cleaning up, and finally I got it into a semblance of order. But I think that's the best thing I ever did, because I love these doors with their louvers and the stained glass. And they both, the 2 of the doors look out to the most amazing views. So this one looks out to the mango tree. I can literally go, what you see as a little balcony, there's a sunshade band. You know, these old houses have these very solid sunshade bands. And so because it's an octagonal shape, the band went straight ahead. So I could get a little more bit of a chamfered space here in towards one of the doors. So this door overlooks the bamboo grove on the far end, and there's a Jambica tree in my plot that I can access from here. So it's the most beautiful space. I don't think my photos do this. This was what it was before. It was just an open terrace. And that's how it looks now. Of course, in this era of Zika and dengue and all that, we do need mosquito netting. And with my louvered doors, I knew that wasn't going to happen. So I have a poster there. This is the roof with a lot of these skylights. And that's another view with some old furniture. And louvers again. This is a mirror I got from Sindhu's, the House of Rose, which is Sindhu's shop for collectibles. Miji and I had gone there. Miji spotted it and said, oh, look, that's a Mother Mary there in the mirror frame. And I said, okay, I think this is what I'm going to take for my place. And I love mirrors because if they're placed right, the reflections that you get can be amazing, you know? And so if you like a certain view, and as you move around the house, they give you these changing views. And when I had to reconcile that corner, I put in a little terracotta jali there so that I could look out again at my pet mango tree. And those are the views reflected from the mirrors of the greenery. And it's quite amazing, the space with the louvers, and you can see the jambikas on my tree as well. And the lighting effects, they keep changing through the day. And that's the skylight all. It's an octagonal room, so it's about 5 meter wide. And I gave a 45-degree slope because I wasn't sure whether there would be leaks and other problems in future. And to avoid that, I gave a very steep slope. So it's a 2.5 meter high roof from the top of the wall. And it's that's Mocha with her eyes. You can see the skylights reflected in her eyes. And these are again the light effects. And some bougainvillea creeping up on the middle door, which doesn't have a view, which overlooks the house opposite. So I've put up a netting there. That's how it looks from outside, this new room that was built. That's the grill that I repurposed. We got a gate, an old gate, cut it into two and used those members. We set them up. I just set them up. And then wherever there were gaps, I just put in verticals. This is how the bathrooms are all done in a similar manner, with just a very plain gray tile matte finish mixed here and there with a little bit of a glossy gray as well. And it was all kept simple. I like doing this sort of suspended units whenever I can, but wherever there were old marble slabs, I kept those. Everywhere else I've done suspended units. It kind of gives it more feel of space, easier to clean as well. And so all the bathrooms are done the same way. That's the house from the outside. And you can see my little addition here doesn't look too different because the room in front is also an octagon. It also has arches. It also has a tile roof. So this is a house that actually had it all. So this addition didn't look too bad. I am not exactly very much of an elevation person. I never believe that a house should be elevated because you don't really see an elevation in its entirety unless you're going to just go and stand opposite the road and look at it. You will only see, I'm more bothered about what you see as you move along. Is there any jarring element? Is there anything that's going to, look bad? So that's all I'm bothered about. I'm more concerned with how you live inside rather than how it looks outside. But that's how it looks. Those are the curtain rods, the lighting outside. When I changed an LED bulb and got an old bulb, which you can't get nowadays. And the curtains are sourced from a friend of mine who makes these beautiful curtains out of jute. And she does a lot of handwork on them with terracotta and other stuff and chelanga beads. So I thought, this house really needed a natural material to come in to tone down all that heaviness of the concrete and the heaviness of the house in general. So I feel this lets in a lot of nice vibes in the house. On the circular sit out, we also had a very, it was a natural stone, black granite tiles they were small tiles and they were not laid too well, because when you try to reconcile a square tile with a circle, you always have those problems. So I took out the balustrades as well. They had those tuned balustrades, which I removed because it was blocking the view. So we did this with cutoffs from all the tiles we'd used. And that's the flooring now. And this is the sit-out flooring, which is also with sample tiles. I loved doing the composition of these. I think that's something that came out well, with all the grease from the bathroom tiles and then some of the sample tiles that I got. That's the reconciled railing with some verticals and some of the old railing. Now, when it comes to design, I would say outdated, when we call something outdated and we want to revamp a house entirely and fully, we should remember that outdated is always relative, because what we do today will be outdated tomorrow. And so one has to aim for, when you consider aesthetics, you have to aim for not trends, but timeless elements. And so what are the timeless elements of composition? You can go to some spaces or houses or buildings that are built from any era, and you can still feel they have a currency and a vibe. And what is it that makes them timeless? Things like composition, mainly, this is key, and how a space is composed, the alignment, the placement, how natural light is used, the interplay of solid and void, the contrasts that happen, the degrees of enclosure that happen to a space when you have a variety of degrees of enclosure, the links, the movements and the connections, the layerings that can happen, like through mirrors into glass, the reflections that you see, and changing views that make a space more timeless, with changing light, for instance. So these are the elements that I think can make a space live forever, and art, of course, infuse it with a lot of art, and that's it, your space, greenery and art, and it's going to live forever. And that is it. That's my view, sunset view on the west. Right now we're quarantined again at home, and I can tell you I'm pretty happy to be here. So till I come back with my shed in the sticks, I'm sorry if I overshot time. Thank you, Miji.
Thank you, Maya. Thank you so much.
Stop share. Okay.
Thank you, Maya, for that very extensive walkthrough of your home. And every architect is, of course, a dreamer. And I pray Maya's dream of, her dream of the shed in the sticks will eventually come through, because we are all looking forward to that too in future. Our second speaker of the day is architect Monolitha Chatterjee, partner, design combine architects and designers. She's had a 2-decade-long career as an award-winning architect in fields of leisure, heritage, urban renewal, and transit design. She's empaneled in the urban design team for the Kochi Municipal Corporation and with Archaeological Survey of India. She conducts academic workshops and exercises with architectural students, faculty, and professionals, as well as general public, corporators, and central and state development missions on aspects of inclusion and gender through design, especially in the public realm. She founded the gender rights-based NGO, Raising Our Voices Foundation, in the year 2013. She's also part of the teaching faculty in KMEA College of Architecture, Kerala. Over to you, Monolitha.
Thank you, Miji. Thanks a lot. Maya, what an inspirational house. It was such a humbling thing to see what you have done with the spaces. And I hope I can do or follow suit. It's a hard job to do. Many points, as Maya was talking, I was realizing there's so many things which are similar, because I resisted building a house for a very long time. One of the reasons was that, yes, I am also quite a bit of a gypsy at heart, and I remember in my 30s buying the first plot of land, and I literally was like, I had gone into depression thinking that, my roots are kind of going into the soil and I won't be able to get up and move anymore. And but over time, what happened was also a need for self-expression. So we had this house, and the fun part of the house that we ended up renovating is that we actually we moved into the house in 2006, and it was a nicely designed villa in a villa complex. Most people would be quite happy with that house. And as we started living there, being architects, of course, you start nudging walls and changing things around as you're living and all that. And that was also one of the reasons why I was very skeptical about us really, doing a major thing and changing things very majorly, because I was like, every year I kind of, change my ideas around. But over a period of time, it also became important for it needed to be a process of self-expression. It needed to be a process where you play out your design ideologies, your design concepts and design language to its fullest extent, because you as your client can be the most demanding, but at also the same time you have the perfect alignment of your vision and your understanding. So that is where we came to, where we decided that we would, and both of us are architects, so it was also a kind of a battleground for both of us with competing interests, but combined visions about many things. So not to go too many into the thing, I'm just going to move on to the presentation, and can you guys all see? I'll just make it full screen. Yeah, is it full screen for everybody?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So we call this open house. And the reason why it's called an open house is because our 20 years of marriage has been, we have lived an open house. For a very long time, anybody and everybody would come and stay with us. Even today, though of course, because of all this COVID and everything, things have become less, but we've always had lots of guests. We've had lots of huge parties of, like 50, 60 people. And I, as a person, am somebody who's very open about my life. I have nothing to hide. And we've always felt that that is the way to live. And the other aspect about open house is that we are really ideologically invested in creating spaces which are open, which merge with the outside. And actually, like for example, my husband has this whole thing that we should not have any air conditioning, so we are literally almost militant about these kind of things. And in that previous house, we were having certain difficulties with these kind of attitudes that we had developed over a period of time. So as I was saying, it was a house lived in for 15 years. My children, both of them, have grown up. One was born, another grew up to being a teenager today. There are lots of memories. When I was putting this together, my daughter was looking over my shoulder and saying, "Mama, everybody's going to say, why the hell did you have to touch the house? Because the older house also looks so good." And it is because I think that entire thing is because it has a lot of our memories, a lot of our this thing. But then we decided that no, we need to now really attack what we understood as problems. And light and ventilation was one of the major problems we had. The rooms were, we felt they were small as our needs grew, as the children grew, as older parents moved in with us, and we were really creaking a little bit on the sides of the rooms. And as our parents got older, we felt that accessibility and those kind of things also became major issue. But I had this whole thing that no, we cannot possibly increase the footprint. I mean, that was something which was just there in my head, because I'm also a working woman, and we went through a lot of periods when we had no maids and both of us working full time. We were always like, we need a house which we can maintain and work with ourselves. We are also fairly minimalist in our tastes, and if you see the house, there were a lot of things which were maintenance heavy. So we needed to simplify the house, but at the same time make it more spacious, make it more airy, and with a lot of light and ventilation. And so the other thing was, because it was an existing house, the main concern was that we want only essential interventions. We do not want to do undue lot of things, and we took the challenge of staying in the house while we did the entire renovation for the last 6 months. And one of the main reasons was that we wanted to be involved at each and every process of decision making. And as we were living, we even saw that our design ideas change, our spatial understandings change and evolve. And we wanted that organic process of design as a part of our entire experiment, and everything was a lot of experiment. We were also like, both of us love working with different materials and all, and we constantly experiment with things, and we were like, this is a chance by which we can actually really try out a lot of things which we talk about and we try with some client, but it becomes more about like delivering a finished product, whereas over here we could actually really try out different ways of doing things and repurposing a lot of essentials and which were there. And then of course we have between us we have a little bit of a like a contradiction where both of us have very minimalist tastes on certain aspects, especially in terms of spatial aspects, but at the same time we love art, and I have a habit of picking up all kinds of things every time I travel, little things, and all my surfaces are cluttered with these little pots I've picked up, and we pick up art, and this is something that we keep on doing, and ethnic crafts is a major weakness for me. So we wanted something where the language kind of blends in together between all of this. So if you look at it, this was the old house, this was the external elevation. Probably, I think this was taken about 5-6 years back, and you can see me sitting there at the porch. As I said, this is a very typical villa development kind of house. We had a fair bit of land in the front. It's a total of a 10 cents property, and the house was about 1,800 square feet, and which was kind of optimum for us in terms of how we used. But as we used it, we felt, it does have fairly large windows and all, but even then, always the inside areas, we always had to put on lights, and that is something we just don't like. So we started finagling with the plan, and I don't have the older plans to show you, but I will just quickly explain to you what we did. So this is the ground floor plan. And the whole idea was that we would actually create these two halls on ground and first, which would completely open right through, and there would only be this 2 bedrooms on either side. So that was the main thing that we were working with. And these halls would be actually multifunctional. Both these halls, they would be multifunctional, and they would be completely open. So they don't even have windows. They are completely open. They only have a mesh barricade around it, and and if you can understand, so this is in the section also, you can see these 2 halls going right through. And this is actually a double height courtyard space, and this is also a water. So there is water at 2 levels. Top and bottom, and with greens on 2 levels also, and this entire thing, this courtyard kind of makes it into one space. And we keep on saying that this is because if we stand in this is a pool, a wave pool, and the requirement was because my daughter is a national level swimmer. She's one of the state champions of Kerala, and she went through COVID with 8 months of no swimming, and suddenly that became an essential requirement for us to have a space where she can practice. So this is basically like a treadmill of a pool where you can get in and get your basic workout. It's not like training, but you can be in the water and you can get the basic workout. And whereas this is a water catchment tank, which actually catches the water from here. This is all open on top. We have only a mesh over here, and it catches the rainwater. And this is like a fish tank and plants and everything. And the overflow of this goes into another larger catchment area that we have over there. The other thing that we were working with was that within the property, we are going to not try and get any soil from outside, any of these kind of things which would fill, but we needed to raise the access areas of the property because of accessibility issues, because we had like 3-4 steps to enter the house. and I had suffered a broken leg and an operation, and I have an 87-year-old mother-in-law who really struggles to enter and exit the house, and my mother is also 78. So these were all things which were there in our heads, but we were like, no, we're not going to take earth from outside. So what we did was we actually created a whole pond inside the property from where we took the earth, and we raised, also we kind of took off the entire topsoil of the house and of the ground, and put all the debris we collected, buried it like 4 feet deep into the ground, and then put the soil back, so that all the gardens and all happen, and the raising is from there, and we didn't send out as much, we didn't have to send out debris, and we didn't have to get soil from outside to do these things. So this is how the house looks right now, and yeah, so there is a lot of salvaged material, and we've used mostly the salvaged material as a structure and taken the lightest possible steel structures to kind of give the additional requirements of the roof, etc. So like for example, the bamboos were all salvaged from a friend's plantation where he wanted to get rid of a lot of bamboo, and we went and we just cut it off, and he was very happy for us to cut it off, and we carted it back and got it treated with Bamboo Corporation, and the essential roof and the support structures are made with bamboo and combined with steel, so that we also use the tensile strength, because bamboo also has certain issues of detailing, gaps, all of that. And the same bamboo is actually split and slatted to create this jali work on top, which is basically inside that. So this was the terrace which you might remember, which was already there in our previous house, and we realized that in 15 years we've hardly ever used that terrace, and as a result we were like, this terrace is pretty useless, and that's where the swimming pool came, and this jali is around that swimming pool, which opens out into that upper hall that I'm talking about, and this is the lower hall which goes all the way to the kitchen, and you can see right through the house. So these are some of the images as we enter. This tree was existing, most of the trees were existing, and we were yeah, these are all have been fights. My husband wants to cut down that plumeria tree, but I've been like holding on to it. Most of these were existing trees, and we didn't want to pave any part of our ground, and right up to the door. The pattern that you see on the door, these are actually part of some of the traditional arts that I don't know whether you guys have heard the word alpona. That is in Bengal, a traditional pattern that is done very similar to the columns that you have over here, but it is done with white paint, and it is something I used to do every time for Diwali on my in the carport. And this has come onto the pivoted door as a print, as a half print. A closer look. And this is how, once you open it, it kind of goes right at the back. And this is the wall, which I don't know if Maya remembers. I was telling that I have dedicated one wall where I hope my husband will start painting again, because he used to be a good painter and he's just not painted for a very long time. So I have put the lights, I have kept it all ready. Now he needs to take a go at it. And on the this side, on the right-hand side, it started off as a veranda. We thought that we were going to have a veranda with the fish tank and the rainwater courtyard. And the rainwater courtyard was also like, you know, how in traditional structures you have these courtyards which fill up with water and they become part of the rainwater harvesting system. Slowly we evolved into thinking that why even have it as a veranda where you have a glass separation? Why can't it just be one space and you have this? Because anyway, because of mosquitoes and all, you have to use, if you have to have usable verandas, you need to put meshes all around. So once we put in the mesh, we were like, if you have the mesh, why do you need the windows? So we started eliminating the windows. This is from inside to outside and outside to inside. This is also from inside to outside, and this is the court, the water court, with a little bit of area where we are growing some plants. And these are these terracotta elephants that we had picked up some time back, which are almost, it's actually one of these British companies which don't exist anymore. and we picked it up from a antique dealer some time back, and exquisitely carved. And actually the elephants, the ears, you can really see through. They're through and through. That's how beautiful the work, the terracotta work is. You can see more detail of this. And that's the water body. It's completely rainwater filled, and it has fishes and ambalam and other plants in it. And this has become basically the favorite place for the elderly to hang out. Not just the elderly, we all hang out over here. And the elderly really like it because they can see the grandchildren playing outside, people coming and going, everything. So they kind of spend almost the entire day over here right now. And you can see how the mesh kind of barricades, and you can see the pool. From there, if you see, that's on the space, and from there we come into this our dining area, and this is one of the only new furniture which we designed and made for this space, this table. And a large part of it was also again salvaged wood. So there were these construction work which was happening, and we had bought a lot of heavy logs of wood for the woodwork that was happening in that house. And these were basically the balance wood which came with the edges and all, and we thought we were going to use it just like that. And this is the Navarasa is also an art piece which I had picked up long time back, and this found a new place. And this was one of the few areas which we increased, where just a 4-foot bay was increased because we didn't have a proper hand wash area. The hand wash area was over here before, and it was right in the face of everybody, and it was quite ugly that way. So we just wanted to tuck it away, and again the bamboos become highlight areas for the lighting and all, and most of the lamps we designed ourselves. We don't believe in too many visible light sources. And one of the things I discovered, and actually I have to thank a client for that a client actually taught me the importance of shadows and how lighting can be done by lighting objects rather than having a light. So I have over the last 5-6 years, my lighting language has changed a lot, where I use a lot of shadows in my light. And as you see, these become these really interesting family spaces where people are cooking. I was cooking here while some friends had come over, and this is the usual dinner place. Parents, children. This is my maid. She's cooking, and you can see the whole kitchen, and you can see right across other people outside, and my mother-in-law sitting outside, and she can actually see what's happening because she has mobility issues and everything. So this kind of gives her a chance to see what the world is about. More views on the kitchen side, and this door opens out into what was a work area, like what Maya was saying. But what we did was we again opened it completely up, and now it has become, I will have an external shot of it from outside. Now it has become an open kitchen, like a pavilion kitchen, which we use every day for breakfast because it's a lovely space. It's on the southeast side. It's a lovely space to sit and have breakfast, and even sometimes we sit in the evening and chat and everything. That's the space. That is how it has transformed, and it's become like a hangout space for us, utilitarian but hangout. This is the living room side, and where we opened out. So what we did was we actually took out a lot of the concepts of shutters from our windows. Remember, I was talking about maintenance, easy maintenance, and this is like one big thing for me, dust. And I really wanted to get rid of any surfaces which catch dust. And at the same time, we wanted a lot of cross ventilation. So we have most of our windows, we have minimal shutters, and these are all meshed areas. And this is a language we have used many times with clients also, but over here we kind of gave it a real tried to put it out as one of the principal ways of designing. These are all old existing chairs which were there, which have just been painted in bright colors. This was also, if you remember that Christmas picture from one of my first slides where I was showing the existing house, that was the sofa. And the sofa, we stripped down the sofa and we did the upholstery again, and these are all old existing tables which we used. This is my daughter's some of the things which we, for a very long time, we were like, we don't do justice to all the achievements she does. And we were like, no, this does need a place. We need to celebrate our children's achievements. And yeah, so these are these wooden niches with which we, again, as I said, I have a habit of picking up stuff as I go to places. And this is one old wooden angel. There is a copper, did you see that? That's a copper, very thin copper cast tortoise. These are Bishnupur houses, horses from Bengal. This is the Dhaka rickshaw, which is made out of metal. The handrail was existing, the staircase was existing. We did debate about taking off the staircase and rebuilding something which was far lighter, but we felt it was too much of a work, and we didn't. As I said, we wanted to keep it to essential intervention. The handrail was teak wood and teak wood finish, but we decided a white color and against a gray background can really, lighten up the space as well as give it a kind of a context. And all of these inside has become now walk-in closets for shoes, and my children have lots of sports equipment, and which every day they have to come go with all their sports heavy gears and everything. Both of them play sports, and all of these are all this is all essential services, and the rest of it all has become walk-in closets. And this is from the living room, how we have opened up with very thin membered glass windows which open out to the lawn in front of the house. These are shots from the top of the living room, and as we go up the stairs into the lounge, this is like a memory wall. My father's passed away, so I made a memory for him. It is waiting for my husband to make a memory wall for his father also, and both of them will kind of go up. And these are old window shutters which we took off, and we repurposed them and painted them to look out onto the pool from there. And another old mirror which has also been reinvented to kind of take care of that corner. Art on the walls, which again we have picked up from various places. That's my memory wall for my father. And then we move into, if you see this, you can see the bedroom, and this is that bedroom hall. That is the hall that I was talking about. This is the whole hall, which ends on one side with the pool, and on the other side a balcony courtyard toilet. And it's only separated by these partitions when we need to. Most of the time we just keep it open. And since we have started using these spaces, we've not needed to put on air conditioning even once. In fact, every night it feels cold. We had a lot of these pebbles in our house when we bought it, and it was all over the lawns. We still have, but we took a chunk of it and we did kind of a grit finish on the wall to end the pool. And that's the slatted bamboo jali which covers the pool area, becomes a double height courtyard, and this is a mesh covering of the courtyard. It is open to sky other than the mesh. Yeah, and these are various views of the pool, and again a viali which we had picked up some time back and we wanted it on the wall. That's my daughter sitting on her 16th birthday. We don't have too many, because we don't have too many windows, we don't have too many curtains and stuff, because again, maintenance, washing, this, that, I'm not very fond of those kind of things. And this, as you go in, is the next, that balcony that we talked about, and we discussed. This has got a lovely green agricultural field at the back of it, and we discussed about whether we want to, have a balcony. And then we were like, you never use a balcony anyway, so let's put a function. And what could be the function? And we're like, okay, fine, let's just put the toilet over there. And this is how the toilet came up over there. So this is a so you can see some images. And again, we were experimenting with red oxide, but it is not exactly the red oxide. We were experimenting with the colors, and we were working on it till we get the right color. And it was a lot of fun working with the masons, literally on hand, trying to get the color, correct color tone and everything. And again, as you see, the lights made out of bamboo, the bamboos on the as planters. some little more detail. This is the detail of the wash counter below, plus the lights of the bamboo lights. And they have become these lovely lit spaces. If you see that same Alpona motifs have been taken onto the glass, so that this becomes actually a powder room inside. And these areas have become lovely spaces where, you know, it's beautiful light, and we never need to put on light during the day anymore, which was one of the principal things we wanted to achieve. Yeah, so this is a little bit more detail about the dining table and how it came through, and uh, we wanted that heavy plank on top to be supported by a very light steel structure below, and below is a polished cement floor. Uh, the floors were also all experimental, so there are 3-4 different types of polished floors everywhere, because we were trying out different things everywhere. Yeah, more details and the detail of the end of the stand. Some more details of the flooring. This is what I was telling, that there are different floors. So this is with the M sand grit, whereas this is without the grit. This floor is without the grit, so it's more like a gray oxide, cement oxide, whereas this is more like a mosaic flooring, but it's with the M sand grit. And yeah, different textures that we have played with: the cement flooring, terracotta floors, unvarnished wood. We found an excellent oil to use on the wood, so that the wood literally, it has a very deep glow, but it literally has no sense of polish on it. It's completely just sucks in. And then we used resin to fill up the gaps. We did not use any wood plugs. And this is the house from the outside, taken today afternoon when it was raining. And this is what the back area, what I was saying. So we had these long 6-meter long bamboos supporting. This is the toilet on top. This is that work area space behind. This is my little vegetable garden happening over here, and all the utility areas happening over there, which is all open and naturally lit. And from the front, this is how the house looks now. Yeah, so that's about, yeah. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Monolitha. We had 2 gypsies today presenting their works to us, and both are kind of refusing to put their roots down by the looks of it, but are kind of forced to by circumstances, I guess. All of us are, I guess, beyond a point when your children grow up. I would like to open the floor now for discussion on both their works. All of you, it would be great if you can switch on. You can join as a panelist, and if we can see your faces along with your conversation, that would be absolutely great. So please join in as a panelist, and then you can put forth your points of discussion with both the architect Maya.
I'm sending invites to everybody to join as panelists. Please accept that invite.
So Sindhu, what is your opinion? You've been uncharacteristically silent.
I'm actually amazed. You know, there are a few things which actually struck me. These 2 great lady architects are very articulate with their words. You know, it's like they took you through the journey, the whole journey. We could really feel it.
It's flowing.
Yeah,
yeah.
And the second thing which really struck me, both of them have different philosophies, but you know, I had expected some stark interiors, but I'm quite surprised to find how close they are to the ecological aspects. And there's a lot of similarities between Mono and Maya.
Yes.
Yeah. It was so, you know, it's both are really warm, and they haven't destroyed the house as such. They've just embellished the whole thing, enlightened it. It's beautiful. I'm glad, you know, both of you just, you know, presented. It's what do you think?
It's a lot of self-expression, but at the same time, very strong design, what should I say, ideology is shining through, but very similar also somewhere. and at the same time not exactly meeting at the same
No,
point. So
no.
that's kind of nice. I love the compo that we did today. It's kind of
Yeah.
very nice that way.
Yeah.
And what I loved is, like, every time when you design a home, it's lifestyles which shine through always. Even for our
Yes,
clients,
true.
I think it's
Yeah.
eventually that you're
Yeah.
designing for a lifestyle
Absolutely.
rather than an individual when it's a residential
Yeah.
design.
Yeah.
And that was very clear during this presentation, in fact. So that's what I love. Discussion of the lifestyle and how it fits your lifestyle. That was absolutely beautiful. So Usha, what about you? Indu, I think Indu is here.
Yeah, actually, I thought both the projects were wonderful. After working for so many years, you reach a point where you think that you know how to design. But I have learned quite a lot from both of you. Even renovation, I have not done any renovation projects, but now I see what renovation entails. And I understand what it is, what I should do and what I should not do. It's kind of clear to me. Both of you, kudos to your efforts, and you have bared your soul, and we see sweet souls there.
I've always felt that renovation works are more tougher than, because there's always a fear of the unknown when you're doing a renovation work. It keeps throwing up surprises at you left, right, and center all
Absolutely.
the time.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So,
And that is a design experience, right? Renovation is a design experience, actually.
Yes, it is.
You learn a lot on the way.
See, which was one of the things why we needed to be very hands-on, because even though we had lived in the house, we actually didn't really know the structure, and we were planning all these major structural interventions like putting a pool on the top and all, and we needed to be sure that it is going to work, and we're still praying that it works and tomorrow it doesn't fall off. But it was very interesting, because as you are excavating, as you are breaking down, you actually understand what the structures are, how how the initial planning has been, and how you can now interpose your ideas within that existing structure. So that was what was very interesting. And a lot of things, like for example, that entire bamboo jali wall happened as an idea as we were doing the work. Initially, we didn't have a plan to have the jali wall. We thought that we were going to just have those blinds come down, chatais come down, and we'll be fine. And then we were like, what will happen is that we will always have the chatais down, because it is not going to give us the privacy we need. But we didn't want everything to be sealed off continuously. We wanted that slight variation. So we were like, okay, why don't we? And we were discussing, okay, what to do with this bamboo, what all we can do. Okay, we are doing structures, we are doing the roof and all, but what more can we do? And then we were like, okay, let's try out this elevation. And we had a great team of crafts people. I would call them crafts people, not just carpenters and all, who were always ready to take up a challenge. They were like, yes, madam, number chiyam. And that was like great fun also to work with them. And they were always so enthusiastic with every madcap ideas we would come by. Oh, chiyam. Even our mason team and our carpentry team were like fully with us. Whatever we were wanting to do, they were ready to do with us. So it was great fun.
I felt that both the houses, come what weather, whether it's sunshine or rain, in both scenes, the houses would look wonderful, actually, isn't it? Your sunset shot was great, Maya. And I can imagine, Mona Lisa, your house during the rains will be like
I actually have a video of the house in the rain. If we have time, 2 minutes, I'll show the video, because it's really interesting.
Why not? Let's see that. I mean, why not?
Okay. Okay.
In fact, I agree with Sindhu that both of you have spoken so well, That is why this video, she's able to show that because of that, I think. Both of them have conveyed it very well, actually.
So we have architect Indu here, we have architect Reni here, and so on. So it'll be great to hear your opinions too.
Just 1 second. Yeah. Because I have to do the share sound. That's the rain you hear.
Loving that
Yes.
pitter-patter sound, you know,
Yeah,
this
yeah.
brings back so many memories of childhood of, my mom's place where you could hear the tiles, tap, 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 you know, going on and on. Even I have a balcony here with the same kind of thing. I love when it rains, how that sound adds on to the whole ambience of the rain.
And
Beautiful.
the fun part is that I'm actually a city brat, okay, and I have grown up in these claustrophobic small apartment blocks, and for a very long time I used to think that nature is not my thing at all, you know. And when I came here, that was literally a culture shock where, you know, everything is all around you, and my senses would feel like overpowered. And but over a period of time, once I started opening myself up to nature, and now we live in an office which is surrounded by nature. It's been almost 18 years that we've been in this office, and then the house. And my husband used to say, "Are you sure you want to open up everything? Because will you be able to sleep? Because even the slightest noise, you get up." But now I sleep like a log, no problem. And I wake up with the first light, and it is so beautiful to wake up with the first light, and you feel so good and so refreshed, you know. And it's just lovely. And the thunderstorms and the rain, it's the sound is there in the room, but it doesn't disturb my sleep at all. In fact, it gives me a very good sleep.
After all, we are all part of
You know,
nature,
I
right?
really think what you've done with such a, run-of-the-mill villa, taken it and converted that small space into such a beautiful space full of experiences. I love the finishes. I love the way you've used nature. You've opened up the space, and the lighting is also amazing. I think you've done a really lovely job for 3 generations in that little house.
I know it's not easy.
Yeah.
Yeah, the generational shift is very difficult, and most residences we go through that because we have a user group through such varied age groups, you know.
So these are the timeless elements, aren't they, that we all try to achieve, that all generations can enjoy and find beauty in, find inspiration in.
Yeah,
I
the
loved how you
composition.
did that backyard, how there was a, you have a small dine out space in the backyard. I remember older houses used to have that very informal dine out in the backyard. I've seen that in Trichure and so on. You know? And you have, like a thinnai at the back, which used to be used for a lot of
Exactly.
purposes,
It's a
including
multifunction. Yeah.
yeah, including eating and anything else. A lot of purposes it used. So I loved it when you showed it because my grandmother's home had something similar, and all of us children used to like sit around at the thinnai and have snacks in the evening and coffee in the evening. So it was kind of like a shout out to that era. You know? I loved that. I loved that. Rennie,
I think
want to add on something? Rennie has, I can see Rennie.
I want to
on the-
interview.
Yeah, Rennie has her hands up.
Yeah. By the way, lovely presentation, both of you, Maya and Mono. Usually we keep away from renovations because it's a huge challenge and a pain in the, dash. So we usually keep away from renovations. But then I see that you guys have faced your challenges pretty well, addressed it the right kind of way to suit you guys. So hats off to you both. My question is to Mono in particular. I was like when you walked us through your residence, I had a couple of technical questions. If that's okay.
Sure.
Yeah. I see a lot of thin frames for windows. I believe they are metal frames.
Steel
Right.
frames.
Can you elaborate a little more on that? I mean, what exactly, and is it fabricated for your particular choice, branded?
Yeah, those are, we use MS tubes, ready-made MS tubes, which we, from the, what you can buy, sections which you can buy easily from the market. And the design was all ours. And the design is made in such a way that the hinges and the tar bolts and everything are kind of, part of the handrails and all of that. So these are some of the things which we have been working on. Like, these are kind of part of our language. We do this in many of our projects also. So here it was a chance for us to make it even thinner, even less material, just purely out of cost, because cost considerations.
Just for a reference sake, how much would it per square feet, or how do you when you calculate the rate?
Ouch, that's a very tough question because I don't think we did
When you compare it with additional windows and all, would it be
Much cheaper, much cheaper. First of all, there's the framework is minimal, so it is
Yeah,
mainly the glass. So if you cost it at 120 rupees, and we didn't use any tempered glass or anything, it's all regular 6 mm 8 mm glasses. So
okay.
if you take the cost of the glass, the metal part is very less, and then you just have the labor, and the labor, because it is so simple, the labor was 3-4 days of labor, 4-man days of labor.
Okay.
So as such, I mean, because it was all being fabricated, we have all these workshops and people who work with all our designs. And of course, when we give it to clients, it's far more polished and far more finished as a product, because it has to meet those standards of what they consider aesthetic. For us, it was about bringing it down to the bare minimum, and even the steel is just rough polished with lacquer on top of that. We just kept it to that unfinished MS thing, so it's not doesn't have a paint on it or anything like that. So yeah.
And can you elaborate on the pool? You must have taken an additional slab, or how do you?
Yeah, we took an additional slab on top of the existing terrace slab.
Okay.
What we did was we had that existing terrace slab, which was actually the full covering of the carport. So we broke one bay of that. We broke half of it. So it was a 5.5 meters long slab. We broke about 2 meters of it, so we had about 2.5 meters, and we had an existing beam structure which we have retained. That actually is what is becoming the structure which holds the water court below. And from those beams, we took a T-beam structure support, and then we on this side also, on the building side, because it's an existing wall. And this, so the floor, if you look at the section, the floor is above and the pool kind of dips down, right? So this is actually the wall of the dining below, right? Till the lintel. So we did a whole concrete layer going up like that and tucking into the beam that we cast above. So that whole thing became like a beam like that, and tucking into it. And this side we had, fortunately, we had columns on the edges. Initially, we were a little afraid whether it would be just a load-bearing structure on all sides where the walls were, and how will we support. But fortunately, there were actually beams tying back down and columns down to the plinth. So these were the discoveries we were having as we were building it. And we were like, oh, good, we have a plinth beam and we have a column footing over there, so we could transfer the loads on the side. And as I said, we are praying every night that it holds.
The filter, where did you tuck them?
Pardon?
The filter units, where did you tuck them in?
The filtering unit is actually at the back on the outside, to be accessed from the outside. So if you see, like it's like that, right? And on this side, the wall, behind that, we have the wave generator.
Yeah.
That white big wave generator. So the filtering unit is just behind that, opposite the pebble wall.
Okay. Onto the side elevation.
Yeah.
Goes into the side elevation.
Yeah. And we just have it covered from the other side with a mesh, and also it's not really. So we we had a chajja over there. We had a sunshade over there, which we extended and created a space. I told my pool guy, this is all the space you get. You're not getting any more. So, yeah.
And the mesh that you talked about, it's an SS mesh, or the?
It is a normal SS mesh that you can buy in the market. So one of the things we wanted to do was to make things which are easily available in the market. It's a 35 rupee normal SS mesh that you can get in the market.
Okay.
Yeah, you can take a knife and cut it, but
No one willing to take the risk.
we are very poor people, don't have much inside. So.
Maximum you're going to get a vyali out of it. So it's okay,
Yeah.
go ahead, cut.
Yes.
Thank you.
Sure.
Usha, you were asking something, yeah.
Yeah, this repurposing and renovating is such a wonderful step to sustainability, isn't it?
Yeah,
So
yeah,
you
that
are
was
creating
that has been the core. I think Maya also would completely agree. I mean, I think the reason why we work with repurposing and renovating is because of its ability to reduce,
And reuse,
reduce and reuse of reuse. Yeah, we do like Maya. We do a lot of renovation works, and I love doing renovation works.
Yeah. Indu had made I think Indu is commenting on the chat actually. Indu,
Yeah.
can you come? Can you come online? Is it possible? I see a lot of.
Hi.
Yeah, there's Indu. Yes.
Hi,
Actually,
Indu.
I have a class now, right now.
Oh, okay.
So I have to leave. So I already put my comment in the comment box.
Yeah.
Anyway, both the works were amazing. First thing, Maya's pool, the sit-out area near her mango tree. I just fall in love with that space. And Mono's pool area, and the fences, the bamboo fences, and the lampshades too. Both the works are amazing. I'm amazed with. So I don't know what to say actually. So I was going through the pictures again and again. In Maya's case, I'm already familiar with almost all the spaces. I'm seeing all the pictures in FB, so very much familiar. Though all the spaces is very big, it's still very intimate. The way that she has put in things made it very intimate. So kindly excuse, class is about to start now.
Thank you so much for I read all the comments. Thank you, Indu. Thank you very much. Yeah. We also had a few other comments today. One was from Naveen Gupta, who's a classmate of mine and Maya's, and he's also commented on Maya's work as well as Mono's comments on the chat. Actually, I think he has left this thing now. I don't see him anymore here. So he has also commented about how the pool is just awesome and how the ambience around the pool is great. I think everyone is taken in by the pool. How you manage to create and tuck and create a pool. I mean, necessity. At the end of the day, it's a necessity. It was a necessity which probably drove you to thinking about an element like that.
All of us, all four of us are swimmers, okay, and we take swimming very seriously. And my daughter it's almost like a second career for her, and she literally was in depression throughout the lockdown. And my little one also swims. He's also in competitive training, and so you, as a family, you need to decide what is important to you. Everybody can look at it and say, oh, this is a very luxurious step or whatever, but for us it was an essential thing.
Maya's home, of course, I've seen every stage of it, right from the time when she bought the property to when renovation was going on. Unfortunately, I've not been able to see the place after she moved in so far because of COVID playing, all kinds of tricks on us. But knowing Maya, after knowing Maya for more than 2 decades now, I know she has this. I don't know how to express it, but she has this ability of bringing forth all kinds of elements which you would never dream of being together in one frame, and then she'll somehow make it work. And that's just Maya's magic. I don't know how she does it time and again, but she manages to pull it off in every single one of her projects. And I'm sure her home, once I see it, also it'll be the same. I already saw a lot of images of it. Beautiful work, Maya. You too. And I think does anyone else have any more questions, Shaina?
I was actually thinking I should make Curious Cat an archery shop because I love archery things. Old things. Now I bought a new staircase, a wooden staircase, which I don't know what to do with. But
we already have the House of Rose, who's tempting us with all kinds of stuff.
But those
but I sent a message to her. She's not a very good salesperson, I think.
No, she is. At least with me, she is. Or the
I sent her messages. I want to pick up this. I told you, no, I'm just.
I didn't get it, Mono. I'll definitely keep in touch with you. I want to get in touch
kind of like that. She's very smart. And, have been like, I mean, I keep getting bombarded by stuff. I think some person who's working with her, and I feel like buying up the whole place, literally, you know, like
No,
so much.
lovely
Maya,
stuff.
you also don't add on. I mean, you will break my heart now. Like,
Maya, you can still start. Okay, we are still we are fans of your artwork.
Maya had a textile label in between. I'm not sure how
I
many.
was wondering how you made me a textile designer, Miji. I've
Yeah,
never.
you had a textile label in between. I remember. I booked a sari which never got delivered, by the way. But whatever, it was beautiful. Each piece was so unique.
Actually, I've dabbled in every kind of design. Something or the other has interested me at some point, and I've tried to dabble in every kind of.
And she has even forgotten that she was a textile designer at a point. But you know, she had these beautiful saris, amazing, lovely, each piece so unique. And unfortunately, I was out of the country at that point, and then I couldn't pick up one. And I still, I'm still feeling very sad about it. So please restart your label again, Maya. And I'm sure there will be a lot of takers across. You can actually see one of Maya's paintings right behind me. In fact, that's also one of Maya's. And so as an artist, she's amazing. As an architect, yes. And as a person, yes, definitely. Yes, yes, yes. You know. So it was really nice to have both of you today evening with us, both architect Maya Gomez as well as Mono Lita. I don't know Mono much personally, but I mean, I feel I know you very well, but no, we haven't interacted much on a personal level. Thank you so much.
We should all visit Mono's house now.
Yes,
Yes, absolutely.
Yes,
Please do come. Let's have a get together of WICCI in our house. All of you are most welcome. And yes, absolutely.
All welcome.
Sindhu, please do take me up on that offer. I'm most happy to host all of you over here.
Anyway, she loves to
That'd be
entertain.
really nice.
So,
Yeah. That'd be
I
really
love
nice.
to entertain. I love to cook, Maya, unlike you.
Oh, Maya is an amazing cook too, by the way.
I totally got what she said when she said that I knew exactly how I wanted my kitchen to be. Same here, because I've been cooking for the last 20 odd years. I know exactly, I knew where I wanted each spoon to go. And I was not open to suggestion by anybody else. That was one place where I was like, veto, 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 veto. This is my place.
I think this is the reason why people should approach only women architects for their homes.
Oh, yes.
We know
People should approach women architects for everything.
for everything.
You know, when I put it in groups, when I put it in the IAA group, have you watched how many thumbs up comes up?
Now, women in general are more sensitive, I feel, towards special needs.
Exactly.
That I'm definitely noticed.
Meera Edwin wants to ask a question.
Oh, please do,
Meera, Meera, are you a panelist? Can I please make you a panelist? Where are you? I can't see you. 1 second. Meera, can you please accept the promote to panelist invite that I'm sending you, and you can please put on. But please ask a question.
Please, always, you're always welcome, Meera. Can you just jump right in?
Hi.
Hi, Meera.
Yeah, hi. My name is Meera Edwin. Okay. Yes. I'm so like I was a bit late because I had an office meeting to attend. Sorry for that.
No need for apology.
Hello?
We are all busy women. We get it. Yeah. Go right ahead.
Yeah. So I was very overwhelmed with the responses or with the talking few people were having. I was in an MNC. And my dad is an architect, Edwin Joseph. My sister, Hema Edwin, you all might know her.
Yes.
Overly, yeah.
Yes.
That's me. And my question, ma'am, as lady architects, do people have what inspire us a lot? Like I have been into architecture right from right after my studies, still into architecture. So how with the family, with the kids, how you people strongly still stick on to architecture? What makes you people do that? I want to know. I really want to know from each of you.
Do you love?
Endless source
Do
of
you love?
energy.
No, I wouldn't say that. I think we get very tired. But do you love architecture?
Yes, yes, of
Do
course.
you love practicing? Do you love designing? If you are like me, because I every morning I can't wake up and do anything else. This is what I can do. Uh, Never stop doing that. Never compromise on that. That was the key to how I continued in my profession all through. I never took a break, and I'm not saying it is easy. It is often quite hard, especially as a mother of two kids, and there are a lot of roles and responsibilities that are always imposed upon women. But what I feel is that if you keep your priorities very strong, other people adjust. So
Okay.
I
I have a
probably.
daughter. I have a kid, 10 years old. Only during the delivery 1 year, in my memory, I took a break. Other than that, I was throughout working and still working, and I love to work also.
Yeah, so don't
Kudos
don't
to you.
ever don't ever stop. I With my first kid, I had these big dreams of taking 6 months off, and I was back at work after 3 weeks. With my second kid, I had no illusions. I knew I had to get back to work in 10 days' time. I was back at work. My children grew up in the office, and they fitted in just fine. They didn't have any problems. The office fitted in really fine with them. And this whole understanding that people have that children can't be part of workspace is just nonsense. I don't agree with that at all. And if people are just a little get out of their stupid mental blocks, then they will find that it becomes so much easier for parents. And I don't mean just women. It becomes so much easier for parents to work if workspaces are made a little child friendly. And we both of us are in the same office, so that does help to a certain extent. But both of us have extremely busy travel schedules because of all the projects which run all across. I mean, right from Goa to Tamil Nadu to Karnataka, everywhere. And I mean, this last 1.5 years has been probably the maximum time we have spent together. Otherwise, we would be like like ships passing in the night kind of a thing. He will come back. I will pass the kids over, and I will leave. So it used to be like that. But it also generates a lot of very good conversation. It makes you understand that you can work together, and it's become now second nature for us. Like, okay, I have a meeting. Fine. So my date is blocked. I can't travel. You have a meeting. I can't travel. I mean, it just has happened naturally. And as a result of that, at home also, I didn't put up those pictures of my husband washing dishes, because he does all of that. And he's always been actually the lead caregiver, especially when the children were small, because I had this deal with him before I had kids, that I'm going to be taking care of them for these 9 months, right, inside me. Once they come out, they're your problem, not mine. So yeah, and he loves kids. I'm very thankful about that. Probably more than me. I can probably sell my kids down the river any day. So it helps if you are very clear about what you want in your life and not compromise, and understand that what makes you should hold that very dear to your life. You should never give up on that.
I'm a person who actually I worked till my daughter was 2.5 years old. Then I took a break from what my primary profession was, which was teaching. I took a break. I traveled a lot. I did work with an NGO at that point. I was in the US. But then when you work with an NGO, the good thing is you're volunteering. So you have a lot of flexibility in terms of your time. And then I got back and I jumped right back into teaching and practice. So once I got back to India, I jumped right back into teaching and practice. And right now, it's more or less like a single mom, because my husband is abroad, has not been able to visit us for the last nearly 2 years. And it's not, I wouldn't say it's easy, when you are the only caregiver. Of course, there are a lot of
challenges, of
dicey
course.
situations which comes up.
Yeah.
And you might have to just, the way I look at it is, people have to be understanding. I don't care.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I am not, this is one of the things, I'm never ashamed to say that I need to leave now and I can't be in this
Yes.
meeting or I can't attend this call because my children need me or something else needs me. I'm never ashamed to say that. But at the same time, I'm never ashamed to tell my children that, okay, you know, this work is very important to me and I need to leave for that.
Yeah.
So it is about both sides, about how, I mean, if you want children, I mean, there are women who don't want children and there are women who don't want careers. So it's your choices, but you should really know what is important to you.
When my daughter was really young and I was teaching, there have been days when I've actually held her in my hands and have taken thesis reviews.
Oh yeah.
It used to be like, I mean, it was not a very common sight in those days in Anna University, School of Architecture and Planning. There were architects who frowned upon it. There were, visiting faculty who frowned upon it. There were people who loved it. My daughter was generally very nice. She used to just sit and smile on my lap, thankfully, you know, and not yell the place down. I was blessed that way. But yes, there have been days when I've actually taken reviews and vivas like that, because that was the only option to go with, you know. And I think that has made some kind of shift in School of Architecture and Planning, how they view maternity and how they view bringing children to college and so on. Slight shifts, subtle shifts has happened. But yes, someone has to take the first step always to make a shift like that and have the dialogue going on something like this. So
see, yes. Simple thing like with me bringing the kids to office, after that other people have brought kids to office. And again, not just women, also men, when they needed to be taking care of their children, they've brought, and it has never been a problem. And just as Miji was saying, I have taken class with child in hand. I've put the child at the back of the car, strapped them in the car seat and gone from Cochin to Trivandrum on side visits. I mean, my son started saying this plan is not very good by the time he was 2. My daughter was giving me design crits by the time she was 3. And both of them have decided they don't want to do anything with architecture because I think we have cheesed them off completely. So.
I think that's a common thing with architects' children. They don't want to become architects nowadays. I hear this.
I have no problems with that.
Understand what I'm trying to say. I mean, like I've heard a lot of architects kids saying, "Oh, I don't want to do architecture. What is this?"
But the nice part about getting that creative gene or watching design happening around you and growing up with design is that it can influence whatever field you're in. Yes. So whatever field the children take up, they're bound to have an edge because of their design exposure, you know, that they had growing up.
Certain aesthetic sensitivity is also like kind of inbuilt in them when they kind of spend a lot of time around architectural projects. That's very true. Very, very true, actually. I think we'll wind up for the day if there are no more questions coming. Surya or anyone else?
Yeah, sure. I would like to ask something tomorrow. Both of you being architects, I was just looking at the finishes that you were using, the red oxide wash basins, the floor and everything. I was thinking, do you fight? Like both of you will be having even
yeah, so happiness, we don't fight about finishes. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes. Yeah.
So yeah, the general material palette that both of us like are quite similar. We have serious fights about larger design details and stuff like that. Yeah, it's not easy to be married to an architect, to work with an architect, with your husband. One of the things that we did as a matter of practice is that we work on different projects. But then when it came to your own house, it cannot be a different project. It has to be the same project. And yes, I can honestly say that I think we have been close to divorce several times over this design process. But yeah,
for going into a divorce, I don't think you have to be two architects working on your own. Many other reasons. Don't worry about it. not particular to that model. So don't
Yeah,
worry
yeah,
about
sure.
Because I was thinking that the grills that you said you have mesh and the very light steel members outside.
Yeah.
My husband is like, he's so much into security, he won't let all those things
So,
happen.
so
The
maybe
grills
those
are fine.
conversations become easier when your spouse is is an architect also, no? Because
Yeah,
then they probably
true.
have the same understandings in some of these things. Because obviously there has been a lot of choices which are very unconventional, and I'm not sure any of our clients will feel comfortable with those things. But uh, a lot of it is very, I think, like these strong perceptions which we carry. We never really test them. But in Design Combine, we had 2 houses built by our 2 senior partners, which are all very similar, okay, in the sense both Ramesh Taragan's house is completely open to the water side. Of course, it has glass doors, but it has just simple glass doors, and it doesn't have any grills or anything. Suresh's house is completely glassed on all sides and no grills anywhere. So for us to even throw away the glass and just have mesh was actually quite an easy decision.
anyone else with any further questions? Or Surya, do you have any follow-up questions?
No, I'm done. Thank you.
Anyone else? If there's no more questions, then I think we'll wind up for the day. It's been a very long session, but a very entertaining one and a very informative one at that. So thank you very much, Maya and Monolitha, once again for that presentation and for your walkthrough and for bearing your souls to us. Thank you very much.
Thank
Till
you
we meet
so
again,
much.
A
everyone.
really
Good night.
memorable one too.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. And the offer for the Wiki get together is a very serious offer, Sindhu. So please do take it up and let's plan.
Yeah,
I would love to meet all of you guys in person, because since we started this whole endeavor, we've been in this whole COVID situation, and
Yes.
I mean, I've met Miji because she made an effort to come and knock at the door of a conference, and we could give each other a quick hug. But I think it's highly pending that we all sit down over cups of coffee or whatever everybody's poison is and
Sometimes
spend
soon,
some
I'm sure.
time.
Sometimes soon. Thank you everyone for tuning in for tonight. It's been a very long session, so we'll wind up now. Until we meet again, everyone. Good night.
Good
Have a
night.
great
Thank you
weekend.
so much.
Great weekend.
Bye.
Same to you.
Bye.